Oh, good morning. Welcome to the Marketing Clubhouse. This is where you get good information, good stories, and find important things that are going to help you drive digital marketing conversions. So, it's going to be a great topic we're going to discuss this morning. Thank you so much for being here. It feels good to, have a clubhouse room. I don't know, every time you have a clubhouse room, it's always a fresh new feeling because I've always been doing podcasts. And, doing podcasts is one thing I love to do. Welcome, Francesca. Good to see you here. When you're building data and you're actually building data for driven measures, there are some things you have to measure yourself. So, this is going to be one of those topics that is going to help you understand what to do and how to do audio advertising. And this is going to be one of the best things you can do. And I'm planning on doing this myself. So, whatever I'm telling you, I've already done it and I'm planning on doing it again. So, if you want to do this, this could be something you could do as a small business, as a creative, as a brand, and you can really go far. But it's only you that's going to decide what you are going to do. I can only tell you what you can do, but you can only tell yourself what you can do and what you can't do. So if you believe that you can or you can't, you're right. That's a Henry Ford statement. That's a Henry Ford quote. So audio advertising is a great, cost-effective, low budget strategy that you can get high impressions and high reach in a short time. The reason why is because there's so many barriers. You think about this, right? Let's just skin this, or let's peel this pie or banana. Let's peel this fruit and look at it from within, right? If you look at your the ads that you run, for example, you have captions, you have images, you have links, you have different assets you have to build. You have video formats, you can do carousels, there's so many things. So imagine the same algorithm, the same system that is transcending, just pretty much moving all over the surface of the internet within their API measures, are all happening at the same time. And these are all different media formats, right? Now imagine having a platform that just strictly focuses on audio, where the advertisements are just strictly there. Imagine running a podcast. Let's say $5,000. For example, you have a budget of 5,000 and you're like, what do I do with this money? If I were you, I would put at least half of it into running ads on Spotify. The reason why you want to run ads on Spotify is because you can gain so much traffic. Now imagine putting 2,500 a year into just running ads on Spotify. That's about $208 a month, which means, right? $208 a month, which means you're spending about $6 a day, $6 to $7 a day on just consistent listening. And you're running a Spotify ad and you're sending them to your playlist. In your playlist, you can have podcast episodes that you have been featured in. You can slide in music there just to give them a taste of what you do. And then from there, you can build up. For me, I already know what my interests are. What what do you call this? What do you call this? What my, I'm looking for the right word to say. Yeah, what the taste bud is. Like I can, the taste buds of my audience, I know that. Like if you're cooking something, you know that it tastes good, there's a taste bud that's gonna tell you that. So when it comes to the episodes and the businesses that I've done and the connections I've built, especially within the podcast, It's going to tell me exactly who my audiences are. So if I know who my audiences are and who my audience is or where my audience is, I can start to build a lot of attraction. Exactly, Francesca. Niche. I love that. I love that you have so much, you're a business owner too. So it would always be good to hear from other people too. So if you're, available, please come up and, enjoy the conversation and add to it because it would be great to hear your thoughts on it too, if that's possible. So, there's so many ways that you can build this up as a business for yourself and for your future. Because if you think about what you're doing, right? You're building growth every day. Every day you show up, you're showing consistency in what you do, right? So the consistency in what you do is equated to how well you can perform and position yourself as a business. And how do you do that is by showing up and actually giving them what they need. But you have to first give them what they want before you start giving them what they need. So when you go to the store, you're like, I want this, I want that. You're going to get it. You're going to get it. If you say, I want this right now, you're going to get it because that's what you want. And no one's going to stop you. That's going to be your decision. That's going to be your take. So if you're building that, you'll be able to do that, correctly. She said, 1 sec, updating my website. I love that. I love that you're active this morning. Yeah, feel free to come up. I sent you a request. And anyone that wants to come up to, feel free to join the conversation, raise your hand, and I'll bring you up so we can talk. It's going to be a fun conversation. I've not even gone into stats yet. I have a whole PDF for you guys to tell you. There's a study that was done by Sirius XM. If you guys know X, SM Media, right? If you guys have heard of it, or SXM Media, if you've heard of them before, they had a study done about digital audio, and I want to share it with you. So I want to tell you this real quick. The top 3 music genres my podcast has been able to acquire, or pretty much, how do I know my audience? By their interests, by their taste buds, what they like, who they like to listen to, what they like to do. So here are my top 3. Pop, rap, and Afrobeats. Those 3 tell me exactly where my audience lies and who they are, right? Now, I know what their top music genres are. So they love pop, they love rap, they love Afrobeats. I'm Nigerian, I love Afrobeats. I'm a musician, I love Afrobeats. I play the drums, I love Afrobeats. I produce music, jingles, I love Afrobeats, right? That's me. So my podcast is also transcending into my audience because I'm connecting people that I like. So if I like pop, if I like rap, if I like Afrobeats, then my audience is also going to like that. This is a study that was done from Spotify, right? Spotify Wrapped. Now, I also got to know my top podcast genres, right? Here are my top podcast genres: business, society and culture, and religion and spirituality. Now I know who they really are because I know what they really want and I know what they really need. So what they want is good conversation. They want good stories. They want good music. They want good vibes. But what they also need is they need more business tips. They need more society and culture practices. They need better ways to, when you think about spirituality, because I believe in God. So I also transcend that in my audience. So the people that listen to me, they also know where my faith is and my base. So I'm connecting with those people who are connecting with me. And then I go a little deeper, going to know, okay, where are they located? I mean, this is great information, cool, surface level, but I got to go deeper. The deeper I get with my audience, the more gems I'm able to bring out, the more diamonds I'm able to bring out. So now I know that my audience, because I've been doing research, it's been 4 years doing this podcast since 2019. We're over 300 episodes in. We have like over 100 episodes that haven't been published, and we have almost 400 episodes that are going to be put out in syndication on YouTube for 2024. So it's going to be exciting, so exciting, because I've been doing research and I know people are going to, they ask, where do you listen to podcasts? And I also ask them, and some of them say YouTube. So I'm like, okay, I gotta, put my own stuff on YouTube. Even though I'm on podcast heavy, I also need to bring that to YouTube so that can move into my podcast as well organically. So that's a strategy for me. That's my goal myself. So if you're looking at your business and you want to know, how do I advertise with audio, right? Stats and strategies. Number one stat is this: get to know what they like. And how you know what they like is by doing what you like, if that makes sense. So if you're doing things consistently, you're building. Oh, wow. Disney Plus and Hulu app just merged. I just got that notification on my phone. Merge Disney Plus and Hulu app launches. That's interesting. Okay. Yeah, I'm just getting news feedback. So that's kind of like highlights for you guys. So if you want to understand your audience and really know where they are and what you like, you got to put in what you like. You can't give what you don't have. So for me, I like to talk about things like I've just expressed to you, and that's what I'm getting back. So for me, my goal is not just to produce content, it's not just to write content, it's not just to optimize content. My goal is to create an evergreen model. And anyone that works with us knows this, that anything that we do is pretty much putting you on a pedestal and giving you long-term visibility, because we make sure that you are seen on the map 2 years from now, even if we're not working together 3 years from now, because we cross paths, because we work together. Now you have somewhere you can be able to build. And I've seen it happen for so many businesses we worked with. I was actually doing a count yesterday with my team because we meet every Wednesday. And I was like, you know what? I've never searched and actually looked at my project management tool to see how many clients we've worked with this year. And to my surprise, actually not this year, in the past 2 years, yeah, 2021, in the past 2 years, because I started using ClickUp in 2021 for project management. It's an amazing tool. So that's where I have all my clients. That's where we, do tasks. We do have deadlines. We have a structure. We can't just do business without having structure. So I counted the number of clients that we've worked with, because anytime you end up on the ClickUp platform, it means that you're a paid customer, you're a paid client, and it's a paid service, and we're giving you paid quality premium service. So I counted the number and I was like, my goodness, I counted 60. So we've worked with 60 companies in the last 2 years, which is crazy to me. It sounds like a small number. It sounds like a big number for some, but to me, it's like, wow. Because I didn't look back. I just kept going, kept going, kept going. And there are new clients that are signing up still. There are people, and that's just that's not like everybody, because there are some people who've worked with one-off. There's some people who've worked with, consulting. There's some people who've worked with in different areas. So that's just like base level, right? So think about that and ask yourself, okay, where are my audiences? Where do they like to hang out? Because I've never run an ad for our business. Everything that we've done is organic, referral based, organic. That's why I usually, preach organic, because audio advertising is really where we also get our social proof, because we get to listen to other people. Like yesterday, someone told me yesterday, he was like, yo, I got your email yesterday and I listened to the podcast, the one you just published on Tuesday. I loved what you were talking about. And I really appreciate you for letting us know this information, because it's hard for people to find this out. So someone who is not even on Clubhouse that listened to this episode I put on my podcast was not in this room when I had that episode or had that room. But now I'm speaking to that person in person, because I moved this audio into my podcast, which now accelerated into my email, and that now pushed it to the 7,000 people we have in our list. So you can imagine the growth from having a room. That's why in this room, if we're 5 people, 10 people, myself, I'm good, because I know that where this is going is further than where we are. And I have to believe in that. And I have to consistently do that to see that happen. But a lot of us, we would just sit back, we'd be like, yeah, I have that faith, I have that power, I have that authority, but you don't work it, you don't move it, you don't do anything with it. And that's why this stagnancy stays. So if you're building out your business and you want your business to succeed, one of the major goals you have to consider is how do you place yourself? And audio is the best place because guess what? If you're gonna do an elevator pitch to someone that you've just met in the elevator, or someone you just met at a restaurant, or someone you just met at a networking event, right? You have 30 seconds to talk to this person. 30 seconds. What are you gonna say? And how do you extend that conversation past 30 seconds? Because you can't be talking all day. You really can't. But you can put yourself in a position where you could be listened to every day, right? And what that means is if you have a podcast, or if you say, okay, I don't have time to do a podcast, I don't have time to be a host, I don't have all that time. All I just want to do is talk about my business and work on my business. There's some people that want to do that. There's a roadmap for you. This roadmap is this: find podcast shows that you want to be a part of or you want to be featured in, and then go to them, go to their podcast, whether it's Spotify or Apple, find them on Instagram, find them on TikTok, find them on YouTube, get their email, find a way to get their email or get into their DM, right? And then reach out and tell them why you want to be on their podcast. And then they will decide. And if they approve and you get on there, make sure that your links to your website are in your media kit. I can call it a press kit. I can call it, what can I call it? I can call it a portfolio, resume, whatever you want to call it. But anything you're sending to them so they can put on their website, put on their show notes, it has to have your links there because that is an SEO strategy and tactic that you can build for long-term success. Because guess what? Imagine if you do that for 10 different episodes that you're featured in, right? Guess what? You can take those 10 featured episodes, right? And if you can take those featured episodes, put them into a playlist on Spotify, for example, and then run a Spotify ad to that playlist where all your featured episodes are, and you're spending that $7 a day, and every one of those episodes has the links to your website. Trust me, by the time you look at 1 year and you said, okay, mm, on Spotify, when you run ads, the least you can run a month is 250, right? The least you can run a month is 250. So that's about $3,000. Um, yeah, exactly. If you do the math, that's about $3,000 total. So if you're doing, $3,000 over the, 12 months, you can push it up to 3K and say, okay, yeah, I'm going to put this 3K down. Let me round the numbers up. Put 3K down, put 250 a month. What does that mean for you? What would that do for you, right? 250 a month is going to be about $8. So you've gone up like $1 or $2, which is very incremental when you think about ad spend, right? Because ad dollars make sense. Does that make sense? Ad dollars make sense. Like ad dollars make CENTS. So ad dollars make sense. So when you know how you're building it, right? Imagine in a year, you're saying, okay, I'm going to run this ad for the whole month in Georgia. The next month, I'm going to run the whole ad in New York. The next month, I'm going to switch the ad to Washington. The next month, I'm going to switch it to Arizona. The next one, I'm going to switch it to Florida. Because when you're running ads, you're not running ads to spend money per se. You're spending money to get data. So if I have a slim budget and I can't use $8 across the US, that's ridiculous, right? Some people put $5 a day and put the whole US. You can't really get anything. That's thin content. You have to really go from zip code to county to city to state before you even get to country. You can even do region, but you can't just blow money like that, right? Because you want to get quality data feedback. So imagine you're doing a case study you're running ads consistently. So you look at your organic analytics and it tells you, okay, here are the top places. Like for me, like around this time last year, our podcast was reaching out to over 60 countries, right? And in the US alone, we were reaching out to 40 out of the 50 states. Now, I did a count just the other day and we've passed 50. Now we're even in the sub regions, like we're in the islands where we've gone really far up, right? Even if it's negative one, not negative, but less than 1%, right? That less than 1% of a 90,000 population goes a long way. So I'm not really looking at, oh, I'm reaching out to 5 million people. That 1% of the number of people in that country or in that population makes a lot of sense for me, right? So if I look at my top five, like for me, my top, and it's the funniest thing, but at the same time, it's one of the most humbling things. The top, you know what? Let me do this. I'm gonna actually do a trivia with you guys today, and whoever gets this right, I'm going to. It's a month of giving. It's my birthday month. So I'm feeling a little generous, so I'll be able to give someone a $10 gift card if they answer this question right. So here we go. You guys get in the chat. Tell me which city and state you think this podcast is being listened to the most. If you get the state right, I might give you some grace. But if you get the city and the state right, that would be clutch. So put in the chat, in the US, which city and state do you think the We Don't Play podcast is being listened to the most? Just put in the chat. I know it's a wild guess, you guys. It's not like I know you don't know the answer, but I just want you to take a wild guess. A wild guess. I'll actually make it easier. Just put the state, because city and state might be very complicated. So just put the state. Put the state in the chat. I'm going to give you guys some time. Put the state in the chat. Okay. Jiggy Janet said New York City. Okay, no. Francesca said Texas. No. Okay. Anybody else? You're close, but not so close. Like right now, you're north and south. You need to go a little bit on the other side. I'll give you a hint. You need to go on the other side. Take a wild guess. Take a wild guess. Take a wild guess. You can do it. You can do it. Just giving you some time. I'm giving you guys 30 more seconds. Think about it. And I'll give you guys one more chance to try. And if you get it right, then I'll give it to you. One more chance. Nope, not Arizona. You got to move away from the east side, from the north side, the south side. Just, let's see. One more. Let's see. It's okay, Janet. It's okay. It's okay. Okay. All right. So 10 more seconds. 10 more seconds. If you know the state, tell me. And I'm going to give this to you. Okay. 5 more seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. Not Tennessee. It is. You guys would be like, what? How did I miss that? California. So Cali is a top state that my podcast is listened to. And to be more specific, San Jose, California. So when I saw that, I knew, boom, okay, let's go. Because I've really been thinking about, reaching out to people. And I already knew that my audience are homeowners. I already knew that. They're family, homeowners. Even the person that talked to me yesterday, he's a family man and, he's a homeowner. So I know my audience to the T. Right? Now I know what they like to listen to for music. I know what they like to listen to apart from my podcast. So it helps me know exactly what to do, right? Makes sense. Yes. Thank you, Francesca. So when you look at where my audience is, I can say now I don't really need to, every month go here, go here, go here, go here. I can literally spend my whole budget, right, on the whole budget of the year just in San Jose. And I'll actually give you some quick facts. If you ever want to know about like populations and neighborhood information that you can trust in your area, there's a website you can use called homefacts.com. I use that when I'm checking residential homes, commercial homes, checking out different places, just doing my own research just for value's sake. So I'm going to type in San Jose. You get to see the air quality, you get to see unemployment rate, you get to see the weather. Okay, so in San Jose is located in Santa Clara County, and they have a population of 982,783 people, making San Jose the largest city in Santa Clara County and the third largest city in the state of California, right? Okay. There are 276 public schools, blah, 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 blah. Like it just goes down and gives you all the information, right? So now I know the zip codes in my area. And the good thing about Spotify is that you can actually run ads by zip codes. So I can now go to the zip codes in San Jose and just either do San Jose, the whole state, sorry, the whole city, or even do Cali, the whole state, really, and then break it down and say, okay, who are my top 5 in Cali? And then break it down like that. I can either start from the bottom going up and start with San Jose and then widen it up, or I could start from Cali and then break it down. So I can go either way. So I have about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. So if I'm looking at 18 by 5, that's 90 zip codes in San Jose. So if I know in these 90 zip codes, there are 900 short of a million people, right? And I'm spending $7, $8 a day for the whole year. Just imagine what could happen. Just imagine. And because you have to also think about, what is the household income? Can they afford your products? Can they afford your services? Can they afford your business? You have to think about that. So I also look at the housing, the single family housing, the multi-family housing. It gives me all the informations there. How many people have building permits? So it gives me all these details that I need to know about my audience. And a lot of us don't really look at stats, because I'm giving you stats today. I'm not just talking, I'm giving you stats. So you can go to homefacts.com and find it for yourself. Do your own research, because they say here the property type. If you want to rent a 1 bedroom, for example, that's $25.72 a month. So that tells me if somebody is using the 50-30-20 budgeting rule, when you think about that 50-30-20 split, and I know, okay, 50% of their budget is going to this and going to that. So they're making, let's say they're making $5,000 a month, for example. 50% of that budget that they're making is going into rent. So what are they going to do with the other 30 and the other 20, right? So if your product costs this amount and they have to save for this amount of months, how are they going to get to work with you? So if you think about how much they're making, you're like, okay, they're making 200,000 a year, and they're only paying maybe 2 to 3% of that into utilities or whatever it is that you want to do. You start to look at those numbers and calculate it like an actual financial business marketing planner. So when you get to the numbers and you know, okay, I'm advertising my audio, my playlist to these people for this reason, then I know that these are the people I'm going to be connecting with. So if I start getting sales and I start looking at my receipts, my receipt orders, and in those receipt orders, I see San Jose, San Jose, San Jose, San Jose, San Jose, I'm not going to be surprised, because I already knew that that was my target. Some people are like, oh, wow, I didn't know somebody's in Nebraska that just signed. Like you have to do the research to know that. So for me, 4 years of organic, consistent quality giving, I'm all the way in Atlanta, and I'm reaching people in San Jose, and I'm reaching people in 60 countries. So what does that tell you? If you want to use strategy with stats to advertise your audio, which is your voice, which is your business, which is your vision, it starts there. So that's a really big fact that I want you guys to just check in. So I'm about to go into the stats, and I'm going to be reading stats from the SXM Media digital audio versus tried and true marketing media. So before I go any further, let me see. So Francesca says Silicon Valley, a lot of tech companies are birthed from there. Exactly. Exactly. You're just going in today. I love it. That is where you think about all these things. So if you're thinking about tech, if you're in business, if you're doing anything that's going to be futuristic, if I can put it that way, you want to be there. That's for me. I want to be futuristic. I am futuristic. I think ahead. Like I'm already thinking electric cars. I'm already thinking, forward thinking because I want to be ahead of the curve. That's just me. I joined Clubhouse November 24th, 2020, and I've been here ever since. And even yesterday, I had an amazing show. Actually, if you guys want to check this out, let me see if I can bring the YouTube video here. I was featured yesterday, and I'm gonna send it to my email list. If you guys want to get that email today, because I'll be sending it out today, just leave your information and click on the link here before I change the link. But I'll bring it back shortly. I just want to get the link for you because I just had. Yeah, there we go. So share the link. Copy. Oh, yes, this is it. This is it. So I'm giving you guys a YouTube link so you guys can watch it on YouTube. I talked about some really nice stuff yesterday. Let's see. Is it going to work? Ta-da! Yes. Okay. So this is a YouTube video that it was streamed yesterday. So it's about an hour long. So just watch the video on YouTube and enjoy the show. Hey, Juliana. Good morning. Good to see you here. I got featured. By the way, I got featured on, and that's the link up top. And I haven't seen her in a year, so I got an email from her team. They wanted to feature me and talk about SEO on their, on their show on YouTube and LinkedIn. So I was there yesterday morning from like 6:45 to about 7:45, and this is the video up here. So it's good to see you. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning, brother. How are you?
I'm amazing. Good to see you here. It's been a
I'm so
while.
proud of you. I'm so proud of you. So proud. This is one of the things that excites me when I see my clients excel. This just made my day. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Anytime, anytime. Yes, I work with Juliana to, if you want someone to help you with your business taxes, you know, she's certified. Reach out to her and she'll definitely get you sorted out. Because I know in business, you need three things: a manager, an accountant, and a lawyer. Those are three major things you need as a business owner. And I've learned that the hard way. So you guys make sure you check out Juliana, reach out to her. She will definitely give you amazing, amazing service. So when you want to elevate your business, right? In context to this YouTube video, you want to become an authority, an expert, someone that can actually get better and do things better. And Juliana, I just gave a really deep strategy on how you can literally use Spotify audio advertising and use different featured episodes within a playlist to run ads consistently for month to month or year over year by focusing on your audience and target thinking. So the audiences that you're putting out in intelligence, you have to think about where they are. And now when you think about the mediums that you want to connect with, it starts to build because it's not just about, oh, I have a podcast, oh, I have a show, oh, I have an episode. Everybody has an episode. You got an episode, you got an episode, you get an episode, you get an episode. Everybody got one, right? But what makes you stand out? And I said this, I put this on threads. I said being outstanding is better than being seen, or standing out is better than being seen. Because if you're standing out, that means someone consciously has a, a an awareness in their mind about what they are seeing with their cognitive thinking, right? They're thinking about something and they're processing it and they can actually actualize it in front of them, right? That's where you get that clarity. And you have to do that with audio. That's why I'm going to be doing that for my business in 2024 because I've hit so many benchmarks with this podcast 4 years running. And now we're going into the fifth year. So I want to use all 2024 to run ads all year, 2024. So it's going to be crazy because right now we're at 15,000 downloads and this is organic. Now I can only imagine if we benchmarked about 60,000 downloads or close to 100,000 downloads by the end of next year around this time, God willing. So, and that also opens up for podcast sponsorships, because we also have sponsorships that you can, if you want to sponsor your business. I've seen how authentic podcasting is compared to running ads on, traditional, I would say, advertising platforms, because people trust you. Like, people drive to work, people commute, to different places. People, go to different places while listening to podcasts, me included. I can listen to a podcast while driving. Yes, I love music, but sometimes I want to just listen, right? And sometimes when you listen in the car, you're paying attention way more than you are maybe at home because of the distractions. So you really want to know where you can position yourself in a place where you can actually acquire and retain knowledge. So that's what I do. And that's what I'm doing for other people, helping them build their podcasts. Like this year alone, we've opened up probably about 3 new podcast shows, and last year was about 5. People are just, they come to me and they're like, hey, you have a podcast, I want to do one too, can you build one for me? Some of them, I show them the roadmap, and they fall off, and it's okay. It's hard to get 50 episodes consistently on a podcast show to run. We are over 300 right now. So the consistency and quality is so important. And what I've come to realize is the podcast shelf life is 24 months. Because if you do an episode today, by this time in 2 years, if that information is still evergreen, it's still relevant, it's still tactical, it's still strategic, it's still beneficial, it's still valuable, it's still relatable, then you can still get traffic and sales from those places, because people are always going to listen to something that you say if they believe in what you did, and then they can see it. So here's some stats I want to share with you from SXM Media. I'm reading right from the PDF. The numbers just keep getting better for digital audio, and so do opportunities for brands. Keyword brands. We talk a lot about its power, so those numbers probably look a little bit familiar. And now we're going to take a step further into the ring, you might say. So in the US alone, right? In the US, I believe we're what, 300 million? Correct me if I'm wrong, plus minus. I may be wrong, completely wrong, so don't quote me. But in the US alone, the number of digital audio listeners in the US is 214 million. So if I'm actually going to Google this really quickly. I really want to know. I don't want to guesstimate. Okay, we're going to do some quick maths real here. Okay, so I was close. So we're at 331.9 million. Then that was by 2021. Okay, and I'm sure we're probably way above that, maybe 350 plus. So if I do 214 million, right? And let's average it at 350 million. That's 61% of the US population. 61%, guys, of the US population listens to digital audio. Do you know what that means? You know how back in the day everybody used to listen to the radio and everybody heard the same thing at the same time, and they did the same thing whether they were told to leave their house or come home or show up to this event or hear this advertisement. Oh, there's something going on in your city in the park. Oh, I heard it on the radio. I'm going to be there with my family, right? Because you heard it first from the radio. It was faith comes by hearing. It's a biblical scriptural concept. Faith comes by hearing, and faith without works is dead. And actions have to be involved for you to see results. So if there are 214 million digital audio listeners in the US, and 75% of the total population, right, are 12 plus, meaning that they're 12 years and above, right? So 12 years and above listen to podcasts. How much audio are they taking in each day? They're taking in about 4.8 hours. So that's close to about 5 hours out of 24 hours, right? We're going to do math again because I really want you guys to. I'm talking about stats and strategies. I don't really go deep into topics like this, but because I want, because I want to give you guys the sauce so you can really know what I'm talking about. You can really look at the amount of time you spend on your business for your brand. Now, 4.8% out of 24 hours in a day, right, is 20%. So people are spending 20% of their day listening to podcasts for at least 4 to 5 hours a day. Do you know what that means, guys? Do you really know what that means? Welcome, Dana. Welcome, Jeffrey. Good to see you. It's always good to see familiar faces on the app, especially with Clubhouse changing. So it's good to see y'all here. Do you know what that means? 20%. I'm giving you guys real data. Go Google it. SXM Media statistics for audio, digital audio. Go read it. Don't quote me. Go read it. I'm giving you stats that I'm seeing because I'm interested in stats because I like to benchmark with business milestones and KPIs. That's what we do for business consulting, coaching, and we do SEO. We build out your business from the ground up. If you're is already above the ground, let's scale it further because there's always room for improvement. And we do that year over year with clients. So 20% of the day is spent by 214 million people in the US listening to podcasts. Meaning, if you think about it, right? Because I'm really kind of scientific with numbers because I have a master's in entertainment business and another MBA. So I have two graduate programs, and I like to mix both of them in between when I'm doing work, and I'm kind of like trying to put things together. So if I look at the numbers, 4.8, if I divide that by two, right, that's 2.4, meaning that 2 hours in someone's day, close to 1 to 2 hours of someone's day, probably driving to work because they maybe have to drive an hour to work and maybe another hour coming back. So that's 2 times 2, right? So when you think about where they're spending the time, it's on these kind of platforms, right? And it's about 55% much more time audio digital listeners spend with audio. So if you're looking at your business and you're thinking about how can I improve my business? How can I take my business to the next level? What can I do today that's going to give me access to features tomorrow, to benefits tomorrow, and to things that can help me understand my brand even better is by using something like digital audio. So when you think about the structure, you have to see where the value is being spent, right? Now, they broke it down into the tuner. There are four types of media, right? This is how do I put this? I'm going to educate you guys today on something that you will learn, you will love. And if I'm going too fast, please tell me to slow down because I want you guys to get this today. And before I go any further, I want to read the comments. Dennis says, "Hang on now. Nothing ever happens till something gets sold. Gotta have somebody selling. Gotta have somebody selling. Of course, definitely. That's the rule. Positioning equals sales. If you're positioned well within your marketing mix, you can definitely get those conversions. But you have to be positioned well. That is a fact. If you're out of position, you're out of line, you're out of context, you're out of brand, you're out of service. So it's just the whole framework. So there are four digital audio media types, right? I won't even say digital audio, but they're audio types. There's linear TV, from what they say. This is a digital audio one-two punch, convenient and accessible, right? 74% of listeners 18 to 34 say, this is in quote, listen to more audio content today because I can access it and take it with me everywhere. That's a big thing. Hey, Lisa, good morning. Welcome. They can take it anywhere. Do you know what take it means? It means that if I'm listening to more audio content and I can take it and access it anywhere I am, whether I'm on the plane, whether I'm in the subway, whether I'm in a car, whether I'm at home, listening to this audio and have complete 100% access to it. Hey, Lisa, good morning.
Good morning.
Good to see you here. Thanks for being here. Lisa is amazing, guys. Make sure you follow her. She has amazing content. So reach out to Lisa as well. I just love, connecting you guys with people because connections are what makes the relationships last longer and sustainable. So linear TV is the first one. We all know about AM, FM, right? That's increasing time and higher, share of voice, SOV share of voice. So 49% share of daily audio time is spent with streaming podcasts, and SiriusXM. That's 13% points higher than AM FM radio. That's big. So if you think about it, 49% of the market share of daily audio time is spent with streaming, meaning streaming on YouTube, streaming on Twitch, streaming on any other platform that you can call streaming, right? Podcasts or SiriusXM. And that's 13% points higher than AM FM radio. And of course, nobody really tunes in into their radio station like 99.3. I mean, you can, it's available, but the chances of you doing that are slim because you're either going to put music, connect your Bluetooth, and keep driving, or just have it in your car if you have CarPlay. So that tells you how big it is, right? Even think about when you're driving and you have these systems. Even Sirius XM is radio, right? So people are also listening to that radio while they drive. So imagine if they can switch between listening to music and listening to podcasts, and then you have a playlist that you're running ads on that has, okay, I have 10 episodes I was featured on this year, and in between maybe I'll do like act one, act two, act three, because I also did some screenwriting as well back in the day. So in act one, one, two, three, I put a song in between. Then four, five, six, I put another song in between, and then seven, eight, nine, 10, I can let it go and just let it slide. And those are three different songs. So if I know that people like pop, rap, and Afrobeat on my podcast show, then I can literally run an ad to those same people and insert the top songs that I believe they will like because we're within the same mix, and then run that ad to them, and they're going to appreciate it because they're getting music, they're getting podcasts, they're getting information, they're getting value, right? It's a mix of all these things together. So think about it like that. There's also CTV, right? Portable and addressable. 58% of listeners 18 to 34 say that audio helps them escape from too much visual stimulation. Ooh, Lisa, do you want to touch on that one? 58% of listeners 18 to 34 say audio helps them escape, keyword, from too much visual stimulation.
I gotta press the button. Yeah, I definitely agree with that. That's one of the reasons why I got on Clubhouse because when we were in the midst of the pandemic, there was so much stuff on the news, and it was just upsetting to see. So it was great to come on an app like this and be able to network and be able to and it wasn't always just about business. There were people on here playing music. I don't know if you remember the sleep room. It definitely was a break. And as you can see, I still love coming on Clubhouse for those same reasons. It's changed, but again, the first thing that I did this morning, probably could tell that I just got up not too long ago. I came in to see what was going on Clubhouse. So absolutely.
Thank you, Lisa. It's so soothing because imagine sending like that's what I did yesterday. I sent an email to my community, and I sent an email with the podcast. Actually, as I'm speaking to you, I need to send an email right now and resend it because it's 24 hours now. Thank you, Lisa, for saying that because you just reminded me to resend the email to to my list because I sent it yesterday around like 6:37 a.m. So it's already past time, so I can easily send it back again to them. So thank you so much for that. It's so true, to escape from that visual stimulation because our imagine staying just think about this, guys. Picture this. Imagine every single day, 365 days in a year, you're every day for at least 4.8 hours, you're staring at the screens on at Times Square. Just picture that. Every single day, something's going to happen to your eyes. Something's going to happen to your mind. Something's going to happen to how you process things because of what you see consistently. So it's a great place to be. It's amazing because you're stimulated by what you see based on color, based on sound, based on styles and all these stuff. But you also want to see what that does for you in the long run. This email that I sent had a 1.5% click rate and it had a 22.9 open rate. And I sent this yesterday in the morning because I wanted them to listen to the episode. And somebody yesterday reached out to me in the evening in person and he was like, "Hey, thank you so much for sending that email. I listened to the episode you launched on Tuesday about blogs and conversions, which I did on Clubhouse as an audio room. And he listened to it and he learned so much. And he's like, I can see you like Chris Doe. When he said that, I was like, whoa, because he can see that. And he just mentioned it. He just spoke life, to me. And I was receiving it because I know that there are things that you can talk about and you can build and you see. I also, one of the people that I love listening to as well is Myron Golden. That's heavy for me because I get to see some things and I just kind of like understand them scientifically and know how to grow. So looking at all these things and building out your audience is important because what you listen to is who you really are. Like what you feed into is what you really are. So thank you so much for that, Lisa. Social media is another media stream. It's authentic and it's trustworthy. And it says 66% of Gen Z and millennial podcast listeners find podcast hosts to be more authentic than other media figures. 66% of Gen Z and millennial podcast listeners find podcast hosts. That means you and me to be more authentic than other media figures because you've cut out all the noise. You've cut out all the audio. It's strictly just you and them, audio wise. That's a huge thing to consider because that also shows where your business lies. That also shows, what you're doing, what you're, communicating. What are you thinking, Lisa?
You already know that I'm getting ready for that for 2024. So that's interesting to hear.
Yeah, it's quite interesting because it also builds into seeing that the digital audio has really created a particular set of differentiators to attract key audiences and also help advertisers reach them whenever and wherever they are. Because it's like a portable. You remember how you used to walk it back in the day with a Walkman? I used to love my Walkman, man. I used to love it back in the day. To the point where I'll give you guys a quick story if you've never heard this story. I think this is my first time saying this on Clubhouse because I thought about the Walkman. Everybody loved watching Lion King, right? So back in the day, everybody loved it. So what I did, I literally recorded. This is the dumbest thing ever, but it was the most creative thing too at that time when there was really nothing you could do with digital stuff, right? It was more slow analog. I literally recorded. I this is so crazy. I recorded the whole Lion King movie, like I taped it, like I actually taped it, right? And turned it into audio so that I can listen to it on my Walkman while I'm going around. So I'm literally listening to Lion King in my ears when I was younger while, in the car or, going somewhere, I'm in school or whatever I'm doing. I would listen to it. And I remember very well, I would have my Walkman, I'll put in the oh my goodness. I'll put in the information in there and boom, I'm listening to it. And then I didn't know what I was doing. Like even music that I would listen to on radio, I would record it so I don't, I can't have access to it. So, and back in the day it was like LimeWire and all these Pirate Bays and Pirate Ship. All these things were happening back then and you can really like access it, but when you think about the long-term success of audio, it's been there from the beginning of time. So you can never go wrong. Right now, we're doing audio. As we speak, this is audio right now. So we're literally doing what we're saying we're doing. And it's so possible for you to get there. Now, there's something called Reach the Unreachables. And this is what I'm reading from the document. It says 64% of adult listeners 18 plus are cord cutters or cord nervers, right? And when you think about, I'll say the other one so you can understand what I'm saying. Then 36% of them, of adult listeners 18 plus, are current cable satellite TV subscribers. Only 36% of adult listeners 18 plus are current cable and satellite TV subscribers. And that means they've gone down about 7% points, negative 7% points since Q3 2021. Now, that means when you hear cord cutters, when you cut the cord, the TV cord, so literally, figuratively speaking or speech wise, they cut the cord. So they don't use walkie talkies anymore. They don't use TVs. They watch TV, but they're not really glued to the TV like that because they can easily listen to something in their ear than sit down and not do anything and just stare at the screen. So they're cord cutting, meaning that they want to explore more, they want to travel more, they want to go to more places and still consume information, right? So imagine if someone's learning about you or your business or your your story or what you're providing in a podcast they can listen to when they're driving, when they're flying, when they're doing different things. It's big, right? 92 There's a 92% increase in the number of listeners tuning into digital audio in the last decade. 92% increase in the number of listeners tuning into digital audio in the last decade. That's huge. We're over 8 billion in the world. So you can imagine what that used to be. I used to tape songs from the radio. You too, Francesca. Yes, I thought I was the only one. Yeah, that used to be the thing. That used to be the thing back then. You didn't really have a choice. But if you're creative, you can go and do all those things. It's crazy that how time flies. Thank you so much for that. So, right now, when you think about trustworthy voices, listeners 18 plus say streaming audio is 2 times more authentic and trustworthy than traditional TV. 2 times more. Listeners 18 plus also say, and this is even crazier because there's streaming audio and then there's podcasts. Don't mix the two. There's streaming audio and there's podcast. Streaming audio is like Sirius XM, it's like Pandora, it's like iHeart. That's streaming audio, right? Then podcast is pretty much self-curated content that you can do from anywhere, right? Whether you're on your Anchor or Spotify, podcast is for Spotify, Buzzsprout, a cast, whatever you're using as a media transmitter, that's where you can go. And it says listeners 18 plus say podcasts are 9 times more authentic and trustworthy than traditional TV, meaning that there are going to be more advertisers, more businesses, more brands that are willing to advertise and put their budgets into audio advertising. And I know there's some platforms, I won't talk about them here, but I know some platforms you can actually do some study to know how much some companies are spending on audio in a year. And you'd be so surprised. Think about Spotify. A simple example, just look at Spotify. If you don't have premium, you're going to listen to so many episodes. Those companies are spending money on audio because they know what the audio conversion is. That's in the niches, like Francesca said. It's in the niches. Lisa said, me too. New Year's, I would tape the top 100 countdown with no commercials. Talk about that.
I guess that kept me out of trouble. Because yeah, once they started the countdown, there's a local station, and every New Year's Eve, I think it was, they would start the top 100 countdown, and I would sit there. I mean, it wasn't perfect, but because at some point I had to sleep. But I tried to, as much as I could. I kept up with it, and I did that. I remember one year, especially, my dad asked me to do it for him because he drove trucks, and he would sometimes miss hearing what the Philly countdown was. So I taped it for him. I know, especially one New Year. So yeah, that's a great memory.
I love it. I love it. I'm so glad we can all relate because audio is relatable. We speak so we can all relate. It's a beautiful thing. It's the one thing God has given us that we can use with power and use with authority that can change a lot of things in our lives. There's power in the tongue. Death and life are in the power of the tongue. Life and death are in the power of the tongue. So whatever you say, you're speaking it into existence. So if you say, I can't do it, yeah, you can't. You really can't. You just can't. And there's no way you can be able to do it. But if you say, I can do it, I can make it happen. I'm going to be the best of the best. You're going to make that happen because consciously you've made that effort to make that step, right? Like a baby step. You don't just start running day one. You have to start crawling before you start walking, and then before you start running, and then you can start flying. Like it's like a butterfly, from a caterpillar to a butterfly. You have to morph like into it, but it takes growing pains. And that's why sometimes people don't pass 5 episodes, 10 episodes, 25 episodes, 100 episodes because they give up. Not because it's hard, but because life just came in the way. And it's okay. But if you can pick it up and continue, you can imagine what that can do for you. Because imagine me running an ad to a playlist that has 10 good spots. Let's say my top 10 episodes for 2023, and I'm running that ad and I'm getting more listeners for the new year. That means I'm spilling over. So the people that are actually listening to the audio are learning. My podcast has I've been told so much about my podcast and what they do. It's so humbling. Someone told me the other day, I can't remember who it was. She was like, I think it was on Clubhouse maybe or in person. I can't remember. But she said, "Hey, Favor, there's a day I was listening to your podcast while I was doing my grocery shopping." I was like, "What?" Thank you. You could be listening to anybody else, Gary Vaynerchuk. You could be listening to Tony Robbins. You could be listening to Coach anyone, but you decided to tune into me. So for me, I don't take that for granted because it's not easy to capture someone's attention in this day and age. So when I hear that those things are happening, it gives me joy because I'm able to really understand the value. Hey Ty, good morning. It really helps you to really understand that. So, digital audio versus AM versus or FM, increasing time and higher share of voice. Why digital audio wins for listeners is because they have more variety and less ad load. And if I run an ad, let's say I run an ad, and this ad I'm running, I'm talking about, hey, you can buy this bathroom scrubber, this electric bathroom scrubber, right, for just $27. And you can scrub your house clean and everything and all that stuff. You're going to listen to that person talking about that thing, and you've paid a front fee. Like for us, for our business, full disclosure, if you want to run ads on our on our podcast for the year, it's $10,000 for the year, and that allows you to have access to unlimited backlinks, content we can slide into the pre-rolls and the post-rolls. We get to see the best episodes and see which topics fit your industry because everybody's business is different, so we are able to advertise your business that way. So when you're thinking about the long-term effect, you're thinking about the growth. I heard a mic. Is it Lisa or Francesca? Sorry, maybe that was me. Maybe that was me. So you want to look into those things and build them from scratch and see how you can, push that out. So if someone listens to your episode and they hear you talk about someone's brand, they're more likely to buy it from you because they've been listening to you for a long time. Think about it. If you're sleeping, and it happens to me, it's happened to me in the past before. Imagine you're asleep, you're dead sleep, and then your mom calls you and your mom says your name. You're going to wake up because you know the voice, right? If you hear your mom's voice from a mile away, you don't have to ask who it is because you can hear it, right? So people recognize the voice. So if I've been listening to you all year consistently, and then you one of this random days I listen to the episode and you talk about a brand that I never heard of and that's something that I can use, then why not? Someone else told me that they listened to my podcast and they were able to hire someone that I featured to do her website. And she told me, hey, I listened to this episode and I got my website done. Literally, like this is real life, guys. So you can only imagine what can be happening when people are listening to your podcast. And then for brands, you have a higher share of voice. And then think about the share of voice part into voice search. Alexa, Siri, Google. When people are listening to podcasts and they're like, hey, Alexa, play me the best, podcast episode today, or play a podcast talking about SEO, or play me a podcast talking about healthy eating habits. Just imagine what can happen because 60% of people that use voice search like Alexa, Siri, and Google, 60% of the time they're by themselves, according to some statistics that I read. So I go with the stats. I don't just flimsy away. I really go with the stats. So for brands, why digital audio wins is you get a higher share of voice, you get increased ad receptivity, meaning that you get a higher stickiness, right? What does that mean? You get a higher stickiness into your ad because people are receptive to the message. They're not ignoring the message. Do you know how many ads you can skip in a day on Facebook, on Instagram, that you will never see on TikTok? You're like, oh yeah, another ad, another ad, another ad. Like you just literally ignore it. Then don't quote me, guys. I think I read this somewhere in the news because I'm always researching, and when I read something, I just hear and go. And I heard that soon, and maybe that might happen because Facebook is turning 20. I was about to say tomorrow, next year. They're going to be 20 years old next year. They launched 2004. They're going to be 20 years old next year. So they might start doing something called subscriptions where you can get ad free. So you have to pay for social media so you can get ad free content organically. Isn't that crazy? So do your own research. Don't quote me, but it's going to be happening because guess what? You're already paying for verified badges. So why not just pay for, maybe add that to their plan, and then the people that have the badges don't see ads, or however it's going to go. I don't know the model. I'm just speculating, but that's what I'm reading too. So yeah, Lisa, it's going crazy. There are more creative capabilities, and there are also advanced targeting options. You can literally target people by zip codes. I can target by region. So I know, okay, this region is a hot region, and I know I have a really cool tank top that can really sell in this area. So I'm going to sell it to this site in Arizona because I know it's really hot, and I know that they're going to enjoy this because it feels good. The weather is nice, and I get an influencer to talk about it. I go to a website, I will mention the name. I can get them to, record it for me, do an actual video, then I'll rip the audio out and turn that into a Spotify ad, and boom, have a creative, and there you go. That's how it works. So it's a lot to take in. I'm gonna pass it to you, Francesca. Good morning, and so good to have you here. Finally, we get to connect. How are you? Would love to hear your thoughts on the discussion for today.
I'm well. I'm actually still working, but I think it's really good. I think that marketing through radio is actually pretty good. I didn't think about it. I'm doing research on it now. I think it's actually really good stuff because Facebook doesn't always reach your target audience, and I've been having an issue with that.
Ooh, tell me more about that. What's been happening?
For my local business, it sends it to like people in Mississippi and like that doesn't live where I live. It doesn't target the right people. So yeah, so it's not working for me.
And so are you saying that you place a target, but it misses the target?
Right, it misses the target. It doesn't. It isn't. It's hard to explain. I'll even put the category on there, and it still doesn't work. It's still not reaching the audience I needed to reach.
Wow,
Um,
wow, that's something I gotta see. Because
and they also the responses that I get, it looks like fake pages too.
oh, and that's what you're spending money on, and you're getting that in feedback.
Right, for my
Oh,
local business, yeah.
wow. Yeah, we gotta switch that up. We gotta definitely go into audio. Audio is you can't miss it. You just cannot miss it. It's something that you can do today, tomorrow, forever, and you can still be listened to. The top episode we had in 2023, right? The top episode we had in 2023 was the Wix versus Shopify episode I did with Crystal Waddell here on Clubhouse in 2021. It's precisely 2021, around September. And that is what the top episode is in 2023. And I remember saying that 24 months is a shelf life of a podcast, and that was organic. We didn't run any ads. And some that tells me if people love listening to business podcasts, they love listening to society and culture, they love listening to religion and spirituality, then their top music genres are pop, rap, and Afro beats, then I know where my audience lies and I know exactly what I can do. So if I'm running a Spotify ad, I'm going to put some Afro beats into my jingle. I'm going to put some pop into my jingle. I'm going to put some rap into my jingle. I might make a rap song, for it. There's even a website that you can actually create a rap song. I have it with me. You can literally type what you want and then they'll send it to them and they'll actually make a rap song for you and then they'll send it back to you. So you can use that as an ad. Think about those corny ads you hear on the radio talking about optimum tax relief. You hear them rapping about, soda, or rapping about, insurance, or rapping about, ketchup. Like you hear all those things, you're like, where are they going crazy with this? But you're gonna remember those ads because they sound crazy. But it's making you remember them, right? When you think about Coca-Cola running an ad, you think about picnics, you think about, concerts, you think about all these things because that's where you see them at. So if you want your audience to be seen in that space, audio ads is the way to go. Hey Pauline, welcome. Good to see you here. So the next level creative, while radio ads,
I agree
go ahead.
because with my new business, I'm sorry, I didn't. Did I cut
No,
you
you're
off?
fine. Go ahead. I'd love to hear what you want to say. Then I'll continue.
My new business is very niche. It's for Black people. It's holiday products for Black people. So I'm thinking, I wrote down R&B, hip hop, things like that. So I think that's a good idea for my new business that I have. So I'm definitely checking it out now.
Oh, that's good. That's good. I appreciate that. Francesca, we definitely love to talk with you. Please get on the call if you're available, because I would love to like really brainstorm and see what you're doing for the new year, because you can definitely reach out to those people easily, easily. And there are more Spotify free users than Spotify premium users. That means you can reach a wider audience on those platforms if you really have that targeting in mind. And that's what I'm going to do for my business. So I'm extending that to other people too. So while radio ads have their time and place, digital audio unlocks a whole other world of audio creatives. Think about this: dynamic audio that has changed based on the listener's demographics and geographic signals, or car specific CTAs that include directions to the nearest location and more. So you're running ads. Imagine you have a brick and mortar and you're like, okay, I'm on 53rd Street, right? And you're running an ad to that zip code. And you're telling everyone that's driving through there, this is what's going to happen. This is what's going to go down. This is what's going to be happening. If you want to check this out, go on exit 78 and you'll find us there. It happens on the road. If you're going on a road trip and you're trying to get to Bucky's, for example, you're going to find a sign that says exit 50, and then you get off that because you've seen that visually and it's communicating to you that that is where you need to go, right? Or you see that within your app. So if someone's listening to you on radio and then you're listening to Spotify on the road, you're playing music, and you're bumping, and then you hear an ad, and then the ad is related to you and you've been thinking about doing this for a while, you might stop there real quick because you heard them talk about, we're just right by the corner. And because you're running an ad in that frequency, right, you're actually connecting with people in those spaces. So it's very important for you to look into this and build connections, more and more, because when you're doing things on the go and people are actually doing things as they're going, it's going to help your business go even faster. And audio ads are apparently better than video ads. Video ads still rock, they still kill it, it still does a great job. I will always do that myself. But in a recent study, right? In a recent study, attention metrics for audio ads exceeded visual media benchmarks by quite a lot. Audio received 50% more audience attention than the norm, with podcasts performing the highest. And audio ads exceeded brand recall benchmarks by 3% and brand choice uplift benchmarks by 4%. What does that mean? It means that if you spend time being a host or being a guest on a podcast and you are connecting with different people and telling them different stories that are all connected to building your business and your brand, you're going to get so much attention, especially if you're running from a local standpoint first, and then you can now take it out of the park. You can knock it out of the park. So if you're spending time and you're building it, this time you're building has to build over time by focusing on what the goal is, where do I want to go, why do I want to do this, right? And I'll give you, one of the last things I'll say here too is digital audio versus social media is more trustworthy and authentic because people prefer listening to digital audio than being on social media. Even though a lot of people are on social media, great, but when people are on the go, when people are actually in motion, when people are driving, when people are actually doing something, we're washing laundry, they're doing something, when they can't be able to just stay in a stationary place, they would want to listen to audio rather than social media. That's why Clubhouse blew up because everybody was home, right? So people are naturally, it's innate, if I can put it that way, that you would be listening to audio than video because when you hear something first, then you want to see it, right? They say seeing is believing, but faith comes by hearing. So you have to start by listening first before you can see it, before you can actually actualize it, right? And why digital audio wins versus social media is because for listeners, they're more trustworthy, they're more genuine, they're more authentic, and they have positive vibes. Now, if someone's listening to this episode And they've heard me talk about Lion King. They've heard me talk about all these things. Lisa has talked about it as well. You know, she's got her own story too, like giving us all these things. Francesca is also telling us a few things as well. Everyone's going to listen and they'll be like, huh, okay, this is a little different. This is nice. I didn't know it could be like this. So it gives you that audience and that controlling mindset driven a possibility to know that you can do this for yourself and actually create content where you're in a deep blue ocean strategy. Because if you're a brand, a business, and you want to run and say, okay, I'm spending $5 a day on Facebook, but I'm not really reaching my audience. Okay, I'm going to move that $5 to Spotify, right? For a brand, what's going to happen instantaneously is going to be positive association, meaning that people who are already listening to podcasts, people who are already listening to music, people who already listen to people like you become part of the association, and it's a positive association. And then there's less cluttered environment because not everybody has a recent podcast. Not everyone's podcast is, updated regularly. So you can always have a great time listening to podcasts on the go. Does anyone want to say anything before I go into social media and then we wrap up? Lisa, Francesca, anyone in the audience has a question? I'll toss the mic up.
No, you're good. Keep going.
Thank you, Lisa. I want to ask y'all in the audience.
Yeah, you're doing a good job.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate that. Put on one in the chat if you listen to podcasts. I just want to have a quick insight. It's so interesting. There are two Brandons in the room today. Welcome, Brandon and Brandon. Good to see you guys here.
I will watch a YouTube show over a TV show. Like, I rarely watch TV shows. I watch a YouTube show or listen to a podcast. I don't really watch a lot of TV, so I think it's an excellent idea.
Why do you listen to it more? Like, what's the difference? Is it the variety of choice you have, or is it just how like explain it to us? Why this over that?
I think sometimes it's so many reasons. One of them is regular TV is so, I don't want to sound negative, but it's not positive. So it's not a good. The television today is not the same as television it was when we were growing up, and then also, just you can learn on YouTube. You can learn so much stuff by watching somebody's life, and just it's more realistic. But I like to learn more than anything, so that could be why.
Ooh, okay. I love that. Thank you so much for that. Okay, Lisa, what about you? Because you put a one in the chat.
Yes, just recently I listened to one of your podcast episodes. I'm actually still listening to it. So, yep.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much for that. You see the feedback. I don't even know what podcast episode it is, but I know it's something. So I really appreciate that feedback too. It really helps as well. So media pros know digital audio brings synergy. And which of the following media do you think audio works best with? Social media is number one. And within social media, you can promote your podcast, you can promote your music streaming services, you can do online video and display, you can do OTT or streaming TV. You can go far and beyond, to push this up, and you can really see how that can grow for you. So it's very important to look at this, and I want to tap into the money aspect so that you guys can actually see this. This is going to be shocking to you, but you may not really be shocked. But this is a study that was done, and I want you to really, check this out. Welcome, Empress. Just look into this. It's the one on blog content. Okay, the one for on Tuesday, the latest one, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Oh, thank you for that. Thank you, appreciate that. So there's a success story here. Audio goes where TV can't. It's so true. You can't carry your TV everywhere, but you can carry your Walkman, you can carry your phone, you can carry your device, but you can't carry your TV. I mean, you can watch TV on your phone, but it's limited. So I'm reading from the PDF here. This is from the Sirius XM Media. That's what I've been talking about all day today. A major credit card client. This is interesting, guys. This because we think about ads when you're spending money on ads. Most people use credit cards, right? Most of the time, more often than not. A major credit card client asked to compare how their audio ads with us measured up to their TV spots during the 2021 membership campaign. Now, this is what they said. Audio delivered 4 times stronger reach index. The word index is so important, that's a keyword, than TV. And audio outperformed linear TV with a stronger on target rate for key demos. And what does demo mean? Demonstration. What does demonstration mean? Show and tell, right? Meaning I'm showing you something that I want you to buy, that I want you to purchase, but I'm telling you the benefits and the features so that you can understand it, right? So if in the ad I'm saying, hey, go to nike.com/sales and get all our sales for the year, someone's going to do exactly that because it's on target, it's a key demonstration, and it's listened to through audio. So it's very direct and it's very positive. Now, between the ages of 25 to 43, this is where it gets really interesting. This is the household income. I want you guys to pay attention to this to show you how you're leaving a lot of money on the table. If you want to run ads, audio is the way to go for 2024. And I'm going to be talking about it more in on Clubhouse in the new year because I don't hear people talk about audio. So I'm going to bring it in here just a bit because, yeah, Facebook is great, LinkedIn is great, Instagram is great. But have you tried Spotify? Think about the people that listen to music. People buy based off emotion. If I'm loving my day, if I'm about to go out, I'm going to pregame, I'm going to listen to music, I'm going to take shots, I'm going to do all these things, I'm going to have a good time with my friends, right? But I'm listening to music in the process. And then I might listen to a podcast, for downtime. And your podcast might just be the one I'll listen to because I want to learn about something based on my interests, right? So the household income for the 25 to 43 year olds ranges between $75,000 a year and $200,000 a year. So the 75K is about 9.1 times, the 100K is about 9.3 times, and then the 100 to 200K is about 9 times. And the audio reach is much wider. Yeah, Lisa. So imagine what your product is. Your product is $27. Your product is $50. Your product might even be $1,000. It might be way over that, right? And you're working with people and you're giving them demos or they're buying things and they're subscribing to your premium podcast for like $4.99 a month or $9.99 a month, like continuity offers like Netflix. Think about what that does for you. Lisa, what are you thinking?
I was thinking it was less than that, but I guess I'm wrong.
Ooh, what was the range you were thinking?
I guess because I'm always seeing things on like Instagram where they're talk. Are we talking about like millennials and are we talking about that age group? I might have
Yeah, yeah, the
misunderstood.
millennials into like I think Gen X because that's 25 to 43.
Yeah, they always make it seem like they have negative balances in the bank. So I actually just saw a reel like that the other day that said they're like negative $15, but still they're vacationing, they're out there eating, eating at the best restaurants. But that's why I was surprised. I mean, that's good to know. My daughter is in that age range, so
Okay. Nah, I appreciate that. It's good to always hear that feedback because it allows me to know what people are interested in, what they like, and then what the expectations are. So these are great spaces that you can actually build. One thing I know for sure you can really do a lot of conversions is blogging, and that could be on your website definitely, and building on a platform like Spotify or pretty much just audio in general because that's where you can really push out your content even further. I want to give you guys the last stats for the day. Expanding market with 83% penetration in every major automotive manufacturer. That's the market penetration for cars. For automotives, 83% is the market penetration, meaning that very soon, which is already probably happening in your car, you can literally tap on the Apple Podcast icon in your car and start listening to podcasts from there, just like you would do with Sirius XM, or just like you would do with, a CD player back in the day. You touch CD, or you touch FM, or you touch Bluetooth. Now you can do that with your own app, So think about it. You can really, really build it out that way. And 70% of the listeners out of the 214 million people in the US that listen to podcasts, those 200, just that number, because it's way over 300. So that number that we're talking about, which is about 61% or so, 70% of them listen in their vehicles for at least 2.5 hours of their day. Meaning that if it's 2.5 hours a day, that means going to work and coming back is going to add up to that. Meaning that every day, consistently from Monday through Friday, they are listening to your episode. Not you specifically, but they are within the radar. Meaning that your episode could be listened to at least once or twice. It's possible, right? And they said that SiriusXM is in 140 million vehicles, one of every two cars on the road. So think about it. If you look at the road and you're driving, one of every two cars that you see on the road has access to SiriusXM and has access to a way they can actually stream audio. Now, imagine if they're streaming your audio. Think about someone you're driving on the road and someone's actually listening to your podcast in their car, but you don't know that. Just think about that. Just imagine that. They're not watching your movie on the road, they're not doing anything but listening to you. So, it's very important to think about it like this. Now, there's even a spot. I actually see Spotify here in their research. They said 80%, 87% ad supported versus paid, right? So 87% is ad supported, and paid media is 45% on Spotify, right? And 38% of incremental reach happens when adding SoundCloud into the mix. Some people can use SoundCloud. I don't use it myself. I used to use it a lot back in the day, but I'm heavy on, the podcast streaming platform. So just by you listening to me today and just understanding the value of where this can take you, you want to build out your business long term by actually building a structure that can give you positioning. So I'm hoping that you learned something new. I'm hoping that you understood something and you want to invest in advertising on the podcast. You can start off with our podcast here at wedon'tplaypodcast.com. You can subscribe to the podcast, or you can just, click any of the links that you see in the resources tab within the podcast show note, and you will have access to those links where you can get on a call and learn more on how you can work and connect with us and actually start running your advertisements, on the podcast or any other podcast that you want to reach out to. So Lisa, Francesca, Ty, Empress, Geraldine, and Brandon, and everybody else that was in the room, thank you so much for being here and being part of today's discussion. I hope you guys learned something new. I hope I was able to give you guys some concept and some value. Put a one in the chat if you learned something new, just to give me some good feedback. Put a one in the chat if you learned something new. I really appreciate you for being here and being part of today's conversation. It was one of those ones that I wanted to share with you because nobody really talks about audio advertising. And I want to make sure that you guys have a grasp of what you can do for your business, even if you have a low budget. Because sometimes we think, oh, we don't really have the money to pay for these things. But if you can just pay attention to your audience and pay some dollars, I said this in the beginning, ad dollars make sense, meaning ad dollars, advertising dollars make CENTS. So it makes sense incrementally, right? And if you do that incrementally, 30 cents, 60 cents, 90 cents, a dollar, 25, $50, $200, $500, 1,000, keep going up like that, you will just see it's like a piggy bank. So the more content you put out, the more you have in your piggy bank. Think about it like that. And that way you can be able to grow and actually decide where your audience can fly. So thank you so much, Lisa, Francesca, and Ty for letting me know that, putting the one in the chat. Love you guys. God bless you. Enjoy the rest of your day. Have an amazing, amazing day. And feel free to reach out to me at favor, FAVOUR, at playinc.online if you want to send me an email. Thank you so much, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Have an amazing day and stay safe.